There is a moment in every person's life when they must choose. Will I be ruled by the world outside me? Or will I rise above it, untouchable, unshaken, unbothered? Because the truth is, most people live like leaves in the wind. Pushed by opinions. Shaken by setbacks. Triggered by whispers. Controlled by every circumstance except themselves. But you were never meant to live like that. You were born to command yourself. To master your emotions so deeply, the world no longer dictates your mood, you do. That is the essence of real power. That is the teaching of Napoleon Hill. Not just how to become rich, but how to become untouchable. Hill wrote, "You either control your mind, or it controls you." And that is the battlefield of life, not wealth, not status, not followers, but emotional sovereignty. Because the man who cannot control his emotions is a slave. No matter how much money he makes. You've seen it. People with wealth, but no peace. Fame, but no identity. Success, but no center. Because they never built the one thing that cannot be bought. Unshakable inner power. To act as if nothing bothers you does not mean you feel nothing. It means your response is no longer dictated by noise. It means you see the storm coming. And instead of running, you stand still. That is the mark of the master. That is the mind trained in mental discipline. Think of Lincoln leading a fractured nation through war, betrayal, and criticism so vile it would break most men. But he did not react with rage. He acted with clarity. He responded with vision. Because his mission was bigger than his mood. Or think of Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor, warrior, philosopher, facing plague, betrayal, war, and still, he ruled himself. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is yours if you build it. But make no mistake, it is built. You don't wake up calm. You train calm. You don't naturally become centered. You discipline yourself into stillness. You practice not reacting. You condition yourself to stay composed when everything is on fire. Because what bothers most people is a choice. Most people let small things derail them. A comment online. A missed call. A delay. A glance. As if their peace was so cheap it could be stolen by noise. But not you. You are here because something inside you knows there's more. More control. More depth. More quiet power. That kind of power begins when you stop chasing approval. Napoleon Hill wrote of the 6 basic fears that destroy people. Fear of criticism was one of the greatest. Because if you fear what people think, they own you. You'll never rise above average if you need to be liked by everyone. You must choose your vision or their validation. Because they will test you. They will doubt you. They will misunderstand you. And if you bend every time someone disapproves, you will break before you ever become. True confidence is when the world disagrees with you, and you keep building anyway. It's when the storm comes, and you walk calmly into it. Because you are no longer seeking comfort. You are seeking mastery. And that mastery comes from response. Not reaction. Response. Reaction is emotional. Response is intentional. Reaction is fear. Response is power. So train yourself to pause. When the insult comes, breathe. When the setback hits, pause. When the world tries to poke at your insecurities, smile. Because nothing reveals strength like a calm man in chaos. Think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison, and when he walked out, he held no grudge. He didn't respond with revenge, he responded with vision. That's not weakness. That's the highest level of strength. Because when you master your inner world, the outer world becomes irrelevant. And that is the root of Napoleon Hill's philosophy: mind first, reality second. If you want to rise, stop managing the world and start mastering your response to it. That is what separates the great from the average. Average people get pulled by their emotions. Great ones direct them. Average people need everything perfect to feel peace. Great ones create peace in imperfection. So the question is, which one are you becoming? Because you can't build an empire with a weak mind. You can't lead with a fragile ego. You can't grow if you're easily offended. Success is emotional endurance. Success is psychological stability. Success is mental toughness refined into grace. And that begins the moment you stop needing others to understand you. You stop begging for closure. You stop chasing people who walked away. You let go. You rise. You decide that nothing outside of you is stronger than what you've built inside. And once you decide that, everything changes. You become a fortress. Not because you are closed, but because you are rooted. You stand firm not because you lack emotion, but because you own it. You do not collapse when tested. You harden with heat, like steel in fire. The world may never stop throwing chaos your way. But the warrior doesn't beg the battlefield to quiet. He prepares himself so completely that no matter what rises against him, he remains unmoved. Because true power is not loud. It doesn't scream, it doesn't panic, it doesn't explain. It walks into the room and shifts it. Without force. Without noise. Without trying. Because presence cannot be faked. And respect cannot be demanded. It is earned by who you become when no one is watching. Napoleon Hill knew this when he wrote, "The man who masters himself is greater than he who conquers 1,000 men in battle." That's why you must stop reacting to everything. Every insult, every delay, every inconvenience. They are all tests. Not of your intelligence. Not of your resources. But of your emotional maturity. Let others flinch. Let others fight shadows. Let others exhaust themselves responding to everything that pokes them. You move in silence. Because when nothing bothers you, you become dangerous in the best possible way. You become unpredictable. Because most people rely on your reaction to feel powerful. When you don't react, you strip their control. You stay above it. You elevate. Because your peace is no longer on sale. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your path. You stop trying to prove your worth through results. You stop entertaining noise. And instead, you build. Quietly. Relentlessly. Unapologetically. Like Edison, who failed 10,000 times before perfecting the light bulb. Do you think he had time to be bothered by critics? He was too busy building the future. Like Carnegie, who was rejected, laughed at, dismissed, until he reshaped the world of steel. Do you think he paused to react to insults? He turned doubt into drive. That is what you must do. You must develop inner stillness in outer storms. You must understand that composure is not weakness, it is command. When they throw shade, you grow deeper roots. When they doubt you, you double your effort. When they walk away, you walk further. Because no one can disturb a soul that has found itself. And that is what this journey is. Not about pretending nothing bothers you, but becoming someone who is no longer bothered by small things. You don't pretend to be above it. You train yourself until you are. Through discipline. Through focus. Through ruthless self-reflection. You build rituals that protect your energy. You build habits that insulate your purpose. You build an identity that refuses to be shaken by the weather. And slowly, you become unrecognizable to your former self. The version of you that used to need validation. Gone. The version that chased every argument to defend their worth. Dead. Now you walk with vision. Now you move with purpose. Now you respond like a leader, not react like a victim. And that shift changes everything. You are no longer begging for power. You embody it. And that embodiment is unbreakable. There comes a moment in the life of every disciplined mind when the old self begins to dissolve. Not with drama, not with applause, but with the quiet death of the unnecessary. The need to respond to critics? Gone. The urge to react to every challenge with emotion? Dead. The compulsion to chase validation, seek revenge, explain your moves? Buried. And what rises from that grave is not a softer version of you, but a sharper one. Because true strength is silent. You've studied the legends. You know Carnegie wasn't loved by all. Ford wasn't celebrated at first. Walt Disney was rejected over 300 times before someone saw his vision. But they did not react. They redirected. They used every no as a lever, every failure as fire. Not because they didn't feel it, but because they trained themselves to respond like leaders. With belief, with clarity, with stillness in motion. You think Elon Musk cares who mocks his vision? You think Oprah Winfrey stopped because she was told she didn't have the look? No. Because these people act as if nothing bothers them. Not because they're numb, but because they're committed. And commitment makes you unshakable. When you're truly committed to your mission, you stop arguing with noise. You stop reacting to nonsense. You stop looking left and right. You lock in. Because every second spent being bothered is a second stolen from your destiny. Every emotional spiral costs you presence. Every petty distraction costs you precision. So if you want to rise, you must divorce yourself from distraction. There is no success without emotional control. There is no power without mental discipline. There is no greatness without self-governance. And that governance begins with awareness. You must see yourself. You must watch yourself. You must be brutally honest. Where are you triggered? Where are you weak? Where do your emotions override your mission? Not so you can shame yourself, but so you can sharpen yourself. Because the weapon that wins the war is not emotion. It's execution. And execution only lives in focused minds. You cannot act as if nothing bothers you. If your mind is cluttered with insecurities, you must clear it. You must cleanse it. You must sit alone, in silence, and watch your thoughts burn. You must ask, is this thought serving my vision, or stealing from it? Is this reaction helping my future, or holding me hostage to my past? Because the emotionally immature man thinks reacting is power. But the emotionally evolved man knows silence is dominance. And not just silence of the voice. Silence of the heart. Silence of the ego. Silence of the need to prove anything to anyone. The one who acts as if nothing bothers him has learned to hear everything and still choose peace. That is how you win. Not with chaos, but with composure. Because composure is control. And control is creative power. You cannot build anything lasting without composure. You cannot lead people with emotional chaos. You cannot command respect by reacting to every opinion. You become a true leader when you become a source of stillness in storms. When you don't just talk about peace, you radiate it. When others panic, you breathe. When others gossip, you observe. When others get shaken, you rise. Not to impress. Not to posture. But because you've trained your nervous system to serve your mission, not your mood. This is the game most never learn to play. They chase motivation, but ignore regulation. They want wealth, but won't develop emotional wealth. They want success, but remain emotionally fragile. Bothered by whispers. Broken by small setbacks. Hijacked by the moment. But you are done living like that. You are done letting the world pull your strings like a puppet. You are done letting petty problems occupy your powerful mind. Because your vision is too big, your mission is too sacred. And your potential is too expensive to sell for approval. So now you train. You condition. You discipline your response. And you teach your emotions who's in charge. You teach your heart to stay calm under pressure. You teach your ego to sit down when provoked. You teach your mind to move with vision, not reaction. And the world begins to feel you differently. Not because you've changed your words, but because you've changed your energy. And that energy will go further than anything you ever say. Because energy is truth. And calm energy is king. Walk into the room. Let them sense your stillness. Let them feel your composure. Let your presence remind them that power doesn't panic. Power doesn't chase. Power doesn't flinch. Power decides. Power executes. Power rises again and again, regardless of what tried to shake it. This is the path of the warrior mind. This is the code of those who ascend. To lead. To serve. To act as if nothing bothers them. Not because they're acting, but because they have trained themselves to rise above what bothers most. That's where greatness lives. And now we arrive at the quiet summit. Not of the mountain the world sees, but of the one within you. You've climbed through the noise. You've walked through the fire. You've peeled back every layer of your false self. Until all that's left is the core. And that core is unshaken. It does not rise and fall with opinion. It does not depend on praise. It does not panic in uncertainty. It knows. Because the one who truly learns to act as if nothing bothers them is not pretending. They have become something new. Not a mask, but a mirror. Reflecting only what they choose to allow in. And now, you must ask yourself, who do I want to be when no one is watching? How do I walk through the storm, not when I feel strong, but when everything inside me wants to scream? Because that is the real test. Not who you are on the stage. Not who you are online, but who you are in the quiet moments of doubt. When your vision is tested. When your belief is questioned. When life whispers, you're not enough. Do you fold? Or do you rise anyway? You see, success doesn't care if you're tired. Discipline doesn't care if you're in the mood. Purpose doesn't ask for permission. It demands sacrifice. It requires emotional strength, not just strategy. You want to win? Then build the emotional armor of champions. Train yourself to breathe when it burns. To listen when it hurts. To decide even when the path is dark. And you will discover something. Something sacred. Something most never touch. Inner freedom. The kind of freedom that cannot be touched by the world. The kind that doesn't come from income, but from inward mastery. Because nothing bothers the man who knows himself. Nothing rattles the soul that has met silence and made peace with it. Nothing distracts the one who walks with purpose in every step. Napoleon Hill said, "Success comes to those who become success conscious." So I ask you now, what do you radiate? Do you carry the energy of a distracted, emotionally fragile self? Or do you walk like someone who cannot be moved? Because when you shift that, when you stop reacting, when you stop letting your mood be dictated by noise, when you act with peace, precision, and purpose, you become unstoppable. Not loud, not boastful, but inevitable. Because the world makes room for the one who refuses to be shaken. It bows to the one who commands themselves. It follows the one who no longer follows emotion. And now, that person is you. Walk forward. Head high. Heart-centered. Unbothered. Not because you're cold, but because you've awakened. You are no longer controlled by the weather. You are the storm. You are no longer pulled by tides. You are the ocean. This is your time. Not to react, but to rise. Act as if nothing bothers you. And soon, nothing will.